Warning: the following program contains adult language, adult themes, and spoilers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good evening, and welcome to this week's episode of This Week's Episode. I'm your not really host, Angie Fernot, and this is the week of May 12th. With me, as always, are my favorite co-hosts, Anonymous Android, Kris Randazzo.
Summon the suit!
Billboard of Lies, Karen Randazzo.
Punching noises.
And soon to be here, but not here quite yet, my wonderful husband, Evan Goldstein, who left me in charge, so everything will go down in flames. But aside from that, how we doing, everybody?
I have breaking news.
Yeah.
Oh my
breaking
goodness.
news.
As of 40 minutes ago, Law & Order has been renewed for another season.
You're shitting me.
Law & Order,
God.
SVU, and Organized Crime will return for new seasons this fall. Boom.
This is
Beautiful.
not a news episode. This is not a news episode. Oh yeah, it's episode 252. Tonight we're going to be talking about Moon Knight. So get your freaking moons ready. Praise be to Khonshu. All that good stuff. We will not discuss till Evan gets here, but we're going to talk about what we've been watching. Apparently some of that has been more Law and Order, Kris. Is that what I'm hearing?
You gosh dang right it was.
Of course it was.
Yeah, I've been pretty well sold on the new season. It is not Law & Order at its best, but it is also not Law & Order at its worst. It is original recipe Law & Order. It has found its groove, and I am mostly okay with it. I have also been watching a lot of classic Law & Order.
I'm sorry, that's just such a ringing endorsement. I'm mostly okay with it.
It makes me very happy. It does. It's like it's like a comfortable old pair of underwear, but it's
well, that's full of holes that you should probably get rid of, but you won't.
Precisely. Well, if it didn't have holes, where would I put my legs?
Zing.
I still really don't like Officer. Called him Officer Dime-Eyes now, even though I know that's the character from Dime-Eyes is from Cougar Town. Like, he's the burn notice guy with the tiny eyeballs.
Oh, that guy? He's in this?
He's really awful. He's one of the detectives, and he's just not fun to watch at all.
Nope.
And Anthony Anderson's a good time. I don't like the lieutenant either. I've seen her in a bunch of other stuff, and I've never liked her in anything else. So,
and this has nothing
fine.
to do with, like, their characters on the show. It's literally the actors just failing to do a good job.
Well, I mean, the lieutenant's kind of a nothing burger character. She's pretty much the same thing as she doesn't have much character to go on. I just don't really like that actor very much. And then the Detective Burn Notice, he's just awful. And it's both, actually. It's him and his character. So, like, his character sucks. His dialogue sucks. But he's also doing a bad job of delivering said dialogue. So, bleh.
Yeah.
The lawyery side of it, I've definitely grown on me much more. I don't love Hugh Dancy, but I like him. He's pretty good. He's pretty solid. I like his assistant. I can't remember her name.
The only name that's coming to my head is Alana de Garza, and that's not it.
Yeah, she was great. I liked her better than the current girl, but she's pretty good too. And Jack McCoy's Jack McCoy, so
Can't go wrong with Jack McCoy.
yeah.
Especially not when he's out there quoting Adam Schiff
That's right.
from 20 years ago or whatever.
Pile on more of that guy. Yeah, I love how much throwback to classic Law and Order his character has, because he went through two other district attorneys besides when he started the show. The district attorney was Adam Schiff. He's just this super grumpy old guy played by Stephen Hill, and he was wonderful to watch. And when Sam Waterston's character Jack McCoy eventually took over as the DA character, he modeled himself very much after, like, as Jack McCoy got older, he always looked up to Stephen Hill's character, and so that comes through in his performance in the show. And like, he's even started dressing like him, which is so great, because Jack McCoy's become a cantankerous old man, kind of.
Ooh, I like it.
It's wonderful. It's great. I love Law and Order, and I'm so glad it's coming back again. I was afraid this was going to be like a one and done thing, because nobody talks about it. But then again, I'm so far removed from network television discussions. I don't know if it's doing well or if it's doing poorly. I know that the only stuff that shows up on Twitter about Law and Order that I see is people talking about SVU and Benson and Stabler getting together or seeing each other again or something. I don't give a hoot about any of that. I don't care about their personal lives. I want Law and Order because it's let's solve a mystery every week, and that's what we do. But the classic stuff, I'm in season 5 now. I'm coming up to the end of season 5. That's a really good season. I watched a weird one today. That this one was about autism. And it was about a clinic that was abusing autistic kids.
Oh, Jesus.
And, like, the depictions of the autistic kids. Now, this was from the early, maybe 94, 95, I think. And the depictions of the autistic kids were very, like, nightmare scenario in the 90s, what you thought of when somebody said autistic to somebody who had never actually met an autistic person.
Yeah.
So they were like, now granted, these were supposed to be representations of extreme cases, but at the same time, they didn't really I don't think there was very much mainstream understanding of autism. So it's very much a time capsule of like, this is what people thought autism was at the time.
Right.
And it's kind of crazy to see how far understanding of it has come in this amount of time since this episode. But it was pretty interesting that the woman who broke the case for them, who wound up rolling on the doctor, was her last name was Randazzo.
Oh, shit. And it all comes full circle.
Which it was there's Gina Randazzo who's worked on the show for eons, so like I always like seeing that name in the credits, but it was fun to see a character get named that. And yeah, that was a good one. That was the last one I watched today. I usually get through about one a day, maybe like half of one a day, one every other day. Like I'll watch half of one and half the other day, like when over my lunch break, or if I can have it on during anything that I'm doing in the background, something like that. I just love this darn show. Although I think this is the end of Kris Noth. I think after this, we're going to get... Goodness, was it Jesse Martin after Kris Noth? Yeah, I think Jesse Martin's going to pick up. So it'll be...
Not Benjamin Bratt?
Oh, right. I'm skipping over Benjamin Bratt entirely. You're right. Because those are like, as far as I'm concerned, the lowest tier Law and Orders. Because the Benjamin Bratt seasons were where they started to try and do more of their personal lives. Like, I think ratings had started to flag, and they were like, all right, we need to reinvent this show to be more about these characters. And so they started having way more personal life stuff in them, and those
like Ray's wife was leaving him or some crap every other week. Oh my God,
yeah, because he was he was threatening to have affairs all the time because he was like big sexy dude. And we learned a lot about Lenny's family, and his daughter gets killed, and Jack McCoy had daddy issues, and there was a whole like mini series with Lorelai Gilmore in it, and it was bananas. But I think I'm about to come up on the first big crossover, which I know Evan has on the Plex because I watched this at work years ago and he got them. So I think the first crossover was right when SVU was starting, which is where I think I'm at now. And it's a crossover between Law and Order, SVU, and Homicide.
Oh my. Yes,
I remember that happening because my college roommate was like super into Homicide. So.
I still haven't watched much of that show besides the Law and Order crossover episode.
It's a good time.
So I've heard. Homicide is a good time.
Yeah, I was like, wow, if this was taken out of context, oh, buddy.
I love Homicide. I like to watch Homicide.
And moving on.
That's why my friend and I used to refer to it as H-Lots, because it was Homicide, Life on the Street.
Ah, yes.
Oh my god.
Because you don't just like, hey, what were you doing last night? I was
Homicide.
watching a Homicide.
And this is why I
It
don't
was
associate.
great. Let's see what else has been going on in the world of us. We finished Avatar,
Okay.
The Last
Finished
Airbender.
Avatar.
That is done, and I'll let Karen talk about the end of that, because I would like to hear her thoughts on how it all wrapped up with finality. But we started our next show tonight, which we're going to take another swing at She-Ra.
Really?
Yeah, we really liked She-Ra, and the kids were into it for a while, and then they just kind of fell out of it. But that was a couple of years ago now, and their ability to watch TV shows has changed considerably since then. Like, we've now gone through all of Korra and all of Avatar with no complaints. So
And Dragon Prince.
And Dragon Prince. I wonder how much they even remember that. But yeah, we went through all of Dragon Prince to current. So we're going to give She-Ra another whirl, because we made it all the way to the last season, and Karen and I really wanted to see where it went, but the kids didn't want to watch it. And we didn't watch it ourselves because we have so many other shows to watch ourselves. So hopefully we can get through that last season this time. It would be
I think,
nice.
too, that I was holding out hope that they would want to go back to it, and then too much time passed, and, I forgot the beginning of the show, so,
Yeah. It'll be fun to watch that with them. I think it'll stick around a bit better this time. I got my fingers crossed that after we're done with She-Ra, either more Dragon Prince exists, or I can possibly convince everyone to watch Voltron, because I really liked that Voltron show.
I never finished that.
It finished up pretty well. It tied things up really well, I thought.
Okay. I don't know why
It did get a little confusing. There was some weird gaps between seasons of wow, you're kind of assuming that I understand what happened between these two episodes, and it seems a little vague. But all in all, I found it tremendously entertaining, well acted, well put together, and it has that Avatar DNA in it, so it kind of plays out similar to that show. So that's fun.
That's good to know, because I think I wasn't 100% sure where the show was going to go, and that may have been one of the things that kind of deterred me from continuing.
Man, I loved that show. I loved Voltron as a kid too, and I thought this was such a great reinvention of it. Love it when they take cruddy old cartoons and make them into something good.
Yes.
I can't remember. Did I talk about finishing Flag Means Death last time in the episode?
We had not finished last episode.
No, and
boy.
we haven't caught up because we have been, oh my god, you guys, our schedules have been so opposite. So I know we're not talking about Moon Knight, the season yet, but just to give you an idea of how difficult it's been, most nights Evan would come home from work, because it was coming out on Wednesdays for us. He'd come home from work. I would see him and be like, did you watch Moon Knight today? Obviously, the answer was yes. And then 3 days later, we'd finally have time to sit down, and I would watch it with him, because I wouldn't watch it without him. So that's kind of where we've been, where it's just been really hard for us to find time to watch things together. And because he wants to watch so many of them together, I've mostly just been sticking to one or two shows on my end. So I'm super boring. I'm sorry. But we also don't hate spoilers. If you do want to spoil it for us, he's not even here, and it would be nice to know something he doesn't until he edits us.
Well, I loved this show. I thought it was fantastic. It definitely gets less funny as it goes on.
Okay.
But that's just because it's telling fewer jokes. It's never not a comedy, but it's also it's a bit more touching towards the end. And I thought it was a very good character study. I found everything that happened in it believable. I kind of don't want to spoil.
Okay.
I kind of don't want to spoil it, but it was slightly heartbreaking, and I'm very curious to see where this is going to go. I think it's insane that we live in a world, as much as I love it, that Law and Order has been handily renewed, and we still don't have a renewal for this magnificent show.
That is like number one on HBO. It's like the biggest show they've ever had.
Really?
It's got like the best reviews, like the biggest numbers. Yeah.
Wow.
It's bananas. No one understands what the hell is going on. Except, Kris, you said that there was some like big streaming event.
Yeah, there was some sort of event coming up.
You think they're waiting to announce it at?
Yeah, that seems to make a degree of sense. But I really want to know what happens next. I want to know how they fix where they are.
Oh,
the
no.
characters.
So they left us with a cliffhanger?
I mean, yeah, sort of. It could work as an ending, and it would be I would make me very unhappy. But it's definitely, I want to see how these characters all wind up together again, and I want to see how they fix things.
Oh no! They broke up, didn't they? No,
yeah,
don't tell me. Oh no!
Things go poorly.
No. Steed, why?
I mean, it makes sense. And everything that happens is like within character and makes sense and is definitely tragic. Like when you see what happens, like of course that is exactly what this guy would do, and it makes sense that he did. And then the repercussions of said things are tough to see. But it's great. It's magnificent. It was a wonderful show. I'm so glad I watched it. Thank you, Karen, for pointing it out to me, because I was more or less unfamiliar with it before you. So
you're welcome. I did want to ask how, like, the evolution of the Steed and Ed relationship struck you. It sounds like it seemed natural to you.
It did seem natural to me. It was I have to compare it to the complete opposite end of the spectrum, the ending of Legend of Korra, where like, and now she's with Asami. You earned none of that. There was no chemistry anywhere. But these two, I'm watching them, and like, I could see it going either way, of being like a platonic, these two dudes just love each other's company, or them actually kind of falling for each other. And it made sense to me. It didn't bother me in the least. Well, when it actually crossed that line, and obviously, Steed had some internal struggles with it, but yeah, it's I thought it was I thought it was fine. Didn't bother. It didn't strike me as surprising in the least.
Okay, I actually was a little bit surprised when they did cross that line, but like surprised, excited. Oh, they're actually going there. Awesome.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Yes.
I figured the whole time I'm looking at like, Blackbeard is into this guy. Blackbeard has fallen for him.
He was enamored.
I'm not sure how Steed feels about it. Like that was the only side of it that I was unsure of, but like the show kind of played it that way too, because Blackbeard's been at sea with dudes constantly all the time, and like that I get it. That totally makes sense for this dude to be like, I'll fall in love with anyone or anything. Like he is a total free spirit. And Steed like has this whole other, he has a family, He left his wife and kids, and he's carrying around some guilt for that. And I think he's such an interesting character. And the fact that he was willing to admit his feelings, in the end, spoilers, it was really refreshing. It was really nice to see, and I bought all of it, 100%. None of it seemed forced. It was a very natural and cool love story.
Yay!
Okay,
I love that show.
Yeah, it's flipping great. Moon Knight is pretty good too, but we'll talk about that later.
No.
And I think that's about it, right? We're almost done with Parks and Rec. What was that?
Picard.
Oh, right. Picard finished up too. Oh, that was lovely. And that was
just the way you said that. It was lovely.
It had this really lovely bit at the end. I still don't understand why Q was dying. But they the joke I made about the Borg in the beginning, like where Picard was like, the Borg, they're the bad things, they're evil, and then Picard's response is, but what if they're not? Well, that was the thing. At that point, what was attacking the ship was genuine, and it was a whole wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey thing, but the Borg effectively reinvented itself positively.
What?
And it looked like it was destroying the ship, but it had a very specific reason to do so. And it was very clever, but more important than that, they kind of explained a bit of like, because Q's whole thing has always been like, I'm just going to mess with Picard. Like, that's what I'm doing. And it was like, he's like a godlike character, and even gods have favorites. And the point was to teach Picard to, like, get over his demons in his past or anything like that and become the person that he could, live up to his full potential by letting go of things in his past and things like that. And then, like, they hugged at the end, and it was so sweet. It was such a sweet scene, and it made me very happy. And the show was very much not perfect. I mean, it's freaking ridiculous at times, at most times, and most of the time in a good way, and sometimes in a not great way. But it's all Star Trek is flawed, and I had such a blast watching this. I'm super curious about Brave New World. Brave New World, Strange New Worlds. I've heard really good things about it. It is a very different tone from Picard. From what I've come to understand, Strange New Worlds it's aiming for the tone of the original series, but not quite so
self-serious.
Would you call the original series self-serious?
I don't
know. It's definitely it's a more modern take on that, but not as, I would say, not as self-serious as something like Next Gen takes it.
Okay.
It's colorful and hopeful, or what I've heard it described as, and that sounds like exactly what I want out of life right now.
Yeah, I'll take that.
I'll take colorful and hopeful. So yeah, I'm really, really interested in watching that, which is strange to say that I'm like, yeah, there's a chance I might actually watch all these Star Trek shows. I don't think I'm ever going to catch up on Discovery. I just don't think it's going to happen. It's too deep. I would have to catch up on 5 seasons or something, and I'm not watching 5 seasons of it by myself. And I'm not watching. Yeah,
much Star Trek.
I don't think we're getting there.
Karen's like, no, thank you.
Picard was an exception, and I'm glad she enjoyed it enough to stick with it. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see where that goes. Super excited about Strange New Worlds. I think that's been it, right? Yeah, I think that's been it.
Yeah, I think that sounds like it.
You sound a little unsure.
We say that like that was not very much,
right? I mean, there was a good bit of detail in there. I'm just gonna put that out there. Karen, was there anything you'd been watching solo?
Oh yeah, there's plenty. I guess I should start by talking about Avatar since Kris mentioned it. I thought it was good. I liked the ending. I laughed so hard at that
Ember
Island Players episode where they did the play and everything was like mocking the whole show. I laughed so hard.
Did Jett just die? Oh, they were real vague about it.
Like I'm like sitting on the side of the room folding laundry and watching this and laughing my like just full out very loud like barking laughter.
Guffaw,
and the kids like didn't quite get why things were as funny as I thought they were, and they were just kind of looking at me like, what is wrong with mommy?
Something special in that laundry tonight, kids.
I just thought it was very well done.
That's awesome.
And the ending was great. I think the only part of it I minded a little was the like quote unquote love story between Aang and Katara. Only because like I realize Aang is like, I don't know, hundreds of years old, and also like you know, the reincarnated spirit of like the same person that's been around for eons. But he's also like a 12-year-old kid, and just to watch him like try and kiss his love interest who was like a couple years older than him, it was just a little squicky.
Yeah.
It didn't work for me.
I will be honest, the first time I saw that I was a little like, ooh. Despite
Like-
having watched all of his growth and maturity throughout the entirety of the series, I still had like a little bit of a struggle being like, you're still children. Like, you may have been through a lot, but, like, you're still children. And also, like, that's a huge age difference at that age. Like,
What is the age difference between them? I actually don't know.
if I'm not mistaken, she was, like,
ask the
15
internet.
or so. Like, I thought that
I'm not sure, but like Sokka and Suki didn't bother me at all. Because, like, they're basically the same age, and they're a little bit older. And you're right, Aang's character did mature, but like physically he didn't mature. Like,
Yeah,
you know, Katara, like, you know, in season 3, she was wearing the Fire Nation outfits, and she had her hair down, and she looked like she'd grown up a little bit. And Sokka, you know, his hair changed a little bit too. Just like Aang stayed the same physically the whole time, which made me feel like he was the same age.
Yeah.
Which basically he was. The whole 3 seasons was over a year, right? So, I don't know. It just bothered me a little.
Yeah, give the kid
It's
a growth
always
spurt.
bugged me a little bit too. It's always been a little, as Sokka puts it in later books, oogie. It's always been kind of that way, and I'm glad they I'm kind of glad they wound up together. I'm looking at a list right now trying to find out like what's the what their age difference is, and like it's a countdown of things that are wrong with their relationship, and I just scrolled to their kiss at the end was weird. Like, yeah, it was. That was one of the things that didn't really work 100%.
And it wasn't really necessary either. Like
12 and 14.
12 and 14. See, she seems older.
See, that's why I said 15. I thought she was like 14, 15 at least, and then I knew that he was 12.
And he's such a kid, you know. He's
Yeah.
so goofy, and not that a 12-year-old wouldn't have a crush on a 14-year-old, like especially spending that kind of time together. But it's just one of those things that didn't feel quite right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know that I consciously observed it until like just right now, or as we're talking about it. But like, his voice hadn't changed. He basically seemed like he hadn't gone through puberty yet, and the other two had. And that's the difference.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, you know, his voice was very kid-like. There was no, like, sense of body hair or anything.
And especially in this day and age, I feel like that's just perceived as, like, almost predatory, even though, like, everything about it was very wholesome. Mm-hmm. So you're just stuck in this weird headspace where you're like, oh, man, if this was real life, you know? So, yeah, right. I could definitely see that. I don't dive too far into that, but I've heard people make arguments about the show, like really vehemently being opposed to Aang and Katara, and like I don't really think that much about it because I'm like, it's still a fucking kids show. Like you know from future series that they ended up together and everything was great.
And I love that they ended up together because of you know the things that they've always done in the show that kind of like foretell that they'll end up together, like when Katara gets the I love that the
fortune teller,
the fortune teller, and then Sokka just makes an offhand remark, wow, I sometimes forget how powerful a bender he is, and like that was her prophecy. It was like she'll fall in love with a really powerful bender, and like she just looks at him and says, I guess she is, and like she had never looked at him that way before because he's a kid.
Yep.
But she's a kid too, so the other thing that I like so much about their relationship, and this comes into the play with the books that happen afterwards, was like kind of the purpose of their relationship. So like the next thing that happens after Avatar is that they got to pull the Fire Nation colonies out. They're pulling the Fire Nation out of the Earth Kingdom, right? They've made all these settlements, these colonies, and they're pulling them out. And when they go to do that, Zuko goes to go and do that, and they get attacked because they've been there for almost 100 years. So
Right.
there's generations of families that have started, and Aang believes that the only way to achieve harmony in the world is to have the four nations be separate like they've always been. And the people in the colonies convince Zuko that they don't want to leave and they shouldn't have to leave. It's their home now as much as it is anyone else's, and they've started families.
Oof.
And the way that moves forward, the way that Aang gets convinced is Katara's like, you know what, this is... You're talking about how you want to preserve Air Nation, Air Nomad culture and everything because you're the only one left, and it's important that the nations stay separate, and you don't want to lose the individuality. But what does that mean for us? What changed my mind was thinking about our future. You're Air Nomad. I'm Water Tribe. So if the nations have to stay separate forever, what does that mean for us? And that's what convinces Aang to eventually create what becomes Republic City in Legend of Korra.
Wow.
So
backstory.
I really wish they would animate these books because they're, the plots are by the people who did the show.
Yeah.
And they answer what happened to Zuko's mom, which is fascinating. Like, and that's on the end of the damn show. And Zuko's like, "Where's my mother?" I'm like, "Yeah, where is his mother?" Show.
Yeah, his
It's a
entire
damn
freaking
question.
mission was like so much to do with the disappearance of. Oh, please. I know, and people have been telling me for years, like, I need to read those books and yada yada yada. And at the time, I was like, wow, this shit's really expensive. And now I'm just like, wow, I don't have time. But like, yes, animate it, please, because I always manage to make time for watching TV, even when I don't make time to read comics. So
Yeah, it's such fascinating stuff that it was written like Legend of Korra makes so much. Not that it doesn't make sense, but it's like this stuff all tracks so perfectly with the evolution of how things came to be. Like Toph starts her metal bending school, which is how other people learn how to do metal bending, and the whole thing with Republic City and Zuko's mom, and they're really, really good. I wish they would just animate them and make more seasons of Avatar out of them because they're great. But
yeah.
That's kind of the thing with the love story, but I 100% agree with you. It was weird. Sorry. Tangent.
That's cool. So yeah, I don't know. I liked it. It was good. I'm never gonna be as in love with it because it just didn't hit me at the right point in my life. But I can appreciate it, and I thought they did a good job with it. I thought they pulled off the ending well.
I loved your reaction when you figured out what Aang was doing to the Fire Lord.
Yay!
Because she's seen Korra, so she knew exactly what that was.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, yay. I loved that reaction.
Also, you may want to take note. We have a new arrival.
I'm here. Hi.
Hi,
All
Evan.
right, we'll stop talking trash about you now.
Good. I appreciate that. That's why I was keeping quiet, because I felt it in my heart that there was some shit talking going on.
That age difference, man. Speaking of old people, ugh. Love you. Welcome home.
Yay.
So happy to be
Yay,
here.
Evan is here.
All right,
Just
so we
in
got through what
time.
Kris was watching. Karen, what else did you watch?
Finished this season of the most bonkers show on television called Midwife.
Yeah, I
This is
watched
what
that
Evan
finale
was
with her
looking
last
forward
night.
to.
It was out there.
It ended with a 2-part finale that was like a big event 2-parter about a train crashing in like
Into
right
a
in the
plane.
area where the show is set. And like 3 of the main characters were on the train when it crashed, and then the guy who drove the train who crashed it because he had either a stroke or a seizure or something and died.
Cool.
Which is why he was no longer driving the train. But as he's driving the train and crashing it, his wife is in labor.
There it is.
And
That's what I was waiting
And
for.
she was like, I just can't wait for my husband to get here and meet our baby. Like, and the nun is looking at her like, "Eh."
Oh boy.
Well,
Yeah. So, I mean, I just love this show. There's like, it's just so fucking bonkers.
And you love it anyway.
really?
I do. I do. I hope it keeps going like a billion years. It's great. I also finished watching Julia.
Oh, yeah. What'd you think of that?
Julia.
Oh my god, it's so great. The woman who plays, I said this last time, but the woman who plays Julia, whose name is like Sarah Lancashire, I think. Is that right? Yes. She's fantastic. She's amazing. Like, Kris came up this afternoon while I was watching the last episode, and I'm like, just stand here a minute and listen to this lady talk. And as soon as she said anything, he was like, oh yeah, well, that sounds exactly like Julia Child.
Spot on.
It was a really nice ending. I don't know how historically accurate it was, but they really kind of gave all the characters a lot of depth. Their episode before the last one, they had a really funny subplot where they all had to go to New York because Julia Child was being honored at a gala, and they all went to New York, but her husband got sick, and he was like couldn't go do all the things that she had planned for their weekend in New York. And she couldn't cancel her things, so she was like, what am I going to do? My husband is sick, somebody has to take care of him. Her friend, who is played by Bebe Neuwirth, is like, I'll stay here and hang out with your sick husband, who is David Hyde Pierce. And the two of them, throughout the season, have like not really gotten along that well. They have kind of like contentious relationship. Sort of, I guess they're both a little jealous of the other's like connection to Julia. So like they don't get along super great, but she's like, I'll stay here and I'll take care of your husband for your sake. And the scenes with the two of them in the in the hotel room while he's just being sick and they're antagonizing each other, those two, you can see why they work together. It was just a joy. It was like little, Cheers reunion between him and her. So fun to watch. So yeah, Julia, I highly recommend. Great watch. It did just get renewed, which is good because that was like the plot of the finale episode was whether or not whether or not the French chef was going to be renewed, but whether Julia was going to want to continue to do it because she was starting to get like her life was being affected. Like fame-wise? Not all like fame and just being overwhelmed and burnt out and not having enough time for all of her endeavors. She was also trying to write another cookbook at the same time as shooting the show, and she just didn't have enough time for everything.
Gotcha.
But so there was some question as to whether or not she was going to want to do season 2, and by the end of the episode, she decided she is going to. And now we get to see that because HBO also decided to give us season 2.
Yay.
I see what they did there.
And yet, Our Flag Means Death remains
still
unrenewed.
does not have a season 2. Which is...
I got a mini spoiler, honey.
What's that?
I can't tell you.
Oh. Okay.
I know something you don't know.
And I think that's about it. I have been watching a lot of Schitt's Creek in the background when I am not in the office. I went back to the office 2 days a week starting last week, and I hate it.
Yep, that sounds
That
right.
tracks. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so I've worked so far 3 days in the office. Day 2, somebody who I was in the office with had COVID.
Oh, great.
Like,
awesome.
What the
Did they
hell
actively go out
are
and try
we
and
in
get
fact
it to,
doing?
to take one for the team so we go back to remote work? Like,
I wish. Okay. It's not quite working out that way so far. But maybe. I don't know. Anyway. So, yeah, my background TV watching has gone down on those 2 days because I'm trying to be a good person and not do, like, personal things on my work computer in the office. But
why?
By contrast, when I'm home, in order to, like, be much more comforted, I watched 9 or 10 episodes of Schitt's Creek today.
nice. That's
Yeah.
a good chunk of the day.
I was just
like
not happy. I was like not happy that I had to be at work yesterday and be exhausted.
I 100% relate.
So that's about it. How about you guys?
My list
Hold
is
on.
very short.
We have a lot to talk about.
What?
Okay.
A lot. I'm going through the Plex. In the past week, we've watched 3 different television shows.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
And listen, I already.
Listen, I gotta go get a drink. All right, I'll be right.
Did you say 3 different television shows?
Hold
Like-
on to your butts.
Whoa.
Buckle up. Not okay, honey. Go.
Okay, this is going to be really, really lengthy and in depth. I have been watching The Walking Dead.
Yes.
That's right. That's
Apparently all of it.
that I have been
Goddamn,
watching.
honey.
Yeah, I'm at the end of season 4. I'm actually at the season finale, and I had to stop for this fucking podcast. You're welcome. That's how much I love you, because I can't stop. You guys, I'm obsessed. I literally
Why?
I can't. I cannot. I don't. It's so good. It captivates me. It haunts me. It's so engaging. I don't understand why I'm so into this show, but they are out of the prison now. And this is where I started to like miss episodes the last time I was watching and like just disconnect from the show. And I have said this to Evan, I figured it out. It's because I literally couldn't handle these characters that had fought so hard for this safe space to lose everything. I couldn't deal. Just could not. Was not coping. No, thank you. Hard pass. Will not do it. But now I'm like, I got to see this through because I'm not even halfway through the series. So fucking buckle up, Buttercup. So here I am watching this show, and I'm at the end of season 4. And for anyone who is familiar with this show, this is the part where or the comics, this is where they're getting to Terminus. And when I fell off of the show last time, it was around the time that they got to Terminus. So that was like basically like somewhere in the next season, I officially dropped off for good and stopped watching.
Were you this into it the first
No.
watch through? Okay.
No, I was in the beginning. I was kind of into it, but you guys, again, I've said this and I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself incessantly, but you know, I had read the comics and they were more fresh in my mind, and I did a reread right before the show had come out because I was so excited, but I had never read past the prison. So when I had done the reread, just like the stuff I experienced with Lock and Key, I had an expectation that was not being met, and it just started to frustrate me. And then it got more and more frustrating as the show further deviated or made really strange choices. And I like, even now, there was stuff I was watching in the prison where I remember like one of the characters picks up sewing and she takes the old prison jumpsuits and starts sewing them, and she talks about like hand sewing in the comic. And I don't know why that stood out to me, but they never did that on the show. But there's all these other details in the show, like they had like just in the garden, the level of detail that they had, where they had stuff that was like strings, and then like a stick, almost like a pig roast, that was like 6 feet tall, that would go across the top of something, and it looked as if maybe there were like string beans that were going to grow up these strings that they had. And it was like, wow, that's so clever. I've never thought of something like that. And they had all of this ingenuity in these systems where they just had like everything managed. Everything had a place. They had a library. They had story time for the kids. And like they had this community. And I think, especially for the stuff that I value as a person, that resonated so strongly with me in a way that I didn't expect, because it's a fucking television show. But it did, because like I want an artist commune, and like this is, you know, minus the zombies, this sounded great. And you know, what better place than a prison, truly. But just like then they're overcoming sickness, and you know, then Glenn and Maggie get married, and Herschel has just become like this like pillar of the community who has helped keep sound and reason and hope alive. Sound, logic, reason, and hope alive in this community. And people just look to him, and they took in all the people of Woodbury, and you know, there's all this history now, and like they had a place, they had a home, and the fucking governor comes and ruins it all. And like the shittiest part that I had forgotten about was that it was because he found another camp of people and convinced these people that this was necessary, and the only reason why they were successful was because they had a fucking tank. They had one guy who knew how to drive a tank, and that guy mowed down the fences. And the thing that pissed me off the most was he was like, we have to take the prison. And then they start blowing up the fucking prison. And I'm like, how is this building supposed to be secure after you start blowing it up, you fucktards.
You didn't hear the rest of his statement. It was, we have to take the prison away from them.
Yeah, no, he's actually right. Yeah, and that was the thing that was
kept
really
whispering it for some reason. It was weird.
That was like one of the really shitty aspects of like what this character does, because he's like, I want to have minimal consequences, and I don't want casualties. And then Rick is like pleading, and he's like, listen, there's different cell blocks, and you can see like this, it's so beautifully acted, like the desperation on Rick's face as he's like pleading to this guy, like, listen, you've changed, I've changed, we've got children here, like we can all exist together. And basically this piece of shit is like, it's mine or it's nobody's, and everybody dies. Like, it's awful. And like, just to see the amount of loss that they experience because of this one horrible human and what he convinced a group of people to do, like, it just, it breaks my heart for these characters. And so this time I've been like, okay, don't fall off the show, because I said to Evan, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to feel about the show after the prison stuff happens, because I know it's coming. And then it happened, and now I'm like, okay, I've gotten through this. Here's where the characters go next, and everybody's split up. But like, there's a lot of characters that I know right now have plot immunity, so I'm okay because they're not supposed to die yet. But there's just so much I don't know, and there's so many things that like I didn't remember about their experiences and what it was like for them leaving the prison, and how they all handled their own trauma and the relationships and bonds that are formed from the people that get paired together. And it's just crazy how it's done. And the last episode that I watched, Glenn and Maggie were reunited, but in the episode before that, they talked about, or they had the scene where Carol was in charge of protecting these two girls whose father had died because he'd gotten sick when people in the prison were getting ill. And she's looking out for these girls, and one of the girls is a sociopath. Like, she had been...
I remember that one.
Yeah, and that whole story, like, the thing of it was, like, I mean, the parallels between what Carol had done and what she had done, like, I feel like they had this really strong, like, Rick was like, I can't have Carol under the same roof as my child, even though, she's now the guardian of the kid, of Judith, who everyone else thinks is dead. So she's protecting this baby now, and she was the person who killed the first two sick people at the prison, and now she has these two children, and one of them is a murderer in a different way, and like, in her mind it's justified, just like in Carol's mind it was justified. So the way that they draw like these parallels between these two characters, yet they're still so dramatically different, and one of them is a child who's just really fucked up and doesn't understand how wrong it all is. I mean, it was incredible to me to see that storytelling, and devastating to see like how they had to handle it. And honestly, like, it's so easy to be that practical, like, I'm a viewer of this TV show, make the choice, it's obvious what you need to do, blah 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 blah. But like, as a person who's like really heavily invested in the show that I'm watching right now and the choices the characters have to make, I didn't see any other options either, and it felt like Carol was doing the right thing. It felt awful that she had to make that choice, but like, I did not see another option, because that child would have constantly been a risk to others and like to the group. So it was crazy how they like just created that scenario. And I was like, wow. The only thing I'll say about it is I'm not, I don't know how I feel about the fact that they were like, here, let's put this into the plot. Like, okay, guys, wow. But they did. And I don't know if that was... I
mean, that's something that show did really well, is just illustrating, like, the impossible situations that people would be put in a world like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and where you are right now, this show is legitimately still great, like, where you're watching it. There's no reason to question why you're watching it, like, because it's really good television. The first handful of seasons, like, before it goes off the rails and starts treating its audience like a bunch of idiots, it's a really good show.
Yeah, I can feel the approach to craziness, but we're just not there yet. Like, people are still grounded. But yeah, so that's it. This show, I literally though, like I can't. I have it. Like this is the thing. It's almost like what my like supernatural level of obsession. Like every opportunity that I can have the television on in the background while I'm doing something in the apartment right now, that television is on and I'm watching the show. I've even been putting down my art to watch some of the scenes because I really like some of the details. Like when Daryl is on the run after the prison and he has Beth with him. There's a part where they like grab some stuff off of a car. It's like one of the side mirrors and a piece of glass from the headlight. And later on you see, and then like the hubcaps. And later on you see them like making a perimeter, hanging the hubcaps as like a sound device in case something hits the perimeter. And then she's literally like dug a hole and is lighting a fire using reflected light through the lens to magnify the light and create heat. And I was like, that is just fucking awesome. Like, I don't know if that legitimately works. I feel like it does, but like,
it sounds like it tracks.
I've done the light through, everyone did the magnifying glass shit when they were younger, I'm sure. So like, I know light through that lens would work, but like reflected light, I never considered that. It
depends on if the thing you're reflecting it off of is concaved or convexed. And if it's concaved, then yes, because it actually funnels it.
Science.
Down. Yes.
So yeah, that's something I did not know. Thank you, Dr. Evan.
Not a problem.
Professor Smartbrain.
Yes,
there it is.
Professor.
Well, I burned a lot of ants when I was younger. I wasn't fancy and had a magnifying glass. What am I, Sherlock Holmes?
Yes. Every kid should have a magnifying glass. It's so cool to look at things in. Anyway. Point being, I just really love a lot of the ways that they handle details of the show. I think the next thing that will happen with my weird obsession will be that I'll end up going down some sort of rabbit hole where I watch things about the making of. I hope there's a ton of content about that because I constantly think about, like, how much must they smell right now? When's the last time they showered? Do they have blisters? When they're dealing with fatigue, what is that like? How many days has it been since they've eaten? How many hours a night are they sleeping? Like, I think, what about the bugs? One of them made a joke about lice. Like, what are they dealing with? I can't, like, I don't know. It's just this, like, crazy level of obsession that I have, and I can't. So, I can't even articulate
I don't think you'll
anymore.
have a problem finding that kind of content of, like, behind the scenes and that, because I feel like this was the era of television where we were really like over analyzing what we were watching. Like, this is the beginning of the era of the after show. So I think you should.
Yeah, Talking Dead is indeed a thing.
Look up Talking Dead and you'll probably find all the answers you need.
I did see a few episodes of that way back in the day because we're old now. But yeah, so that's it. I just thank you for letting me just rave about that show. I can't say enough good things about where I'm at with it right now, and even when I don't like the way things go down in the show, I still like the way that it's written. So
nice.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one.
Yeah.
Two, I have been watching, for some weird reason, quite a few episodes of Star Trek Lower Decks.
Because it's great. It's funny.
Looking forward to that. As soon as we finish,
it's funny as
Parks
hell,
and Rec?
man. Oof. It's like what was it, Bob's Burgers meets Star Trek with a soupçon of Archer in there.
Soupçon. Wow, honey.
Yeah. What I like best about, because I'm not a big Star Trek fan, like I don't know a lot about it, but the references that they make, I understand. Like, there was this one recent episode where they were talking about how the captain and the people that are running the ship know everything that's going on with the show, and then the lower decks like, no, they don't. No, like God forbid Q shows up, everything goes to hell. And I was like, Q, I understand that reference. Then at the end of the episode, Q actually showed up. It's really funny that like it's just a well done cartoon, and the fact that it has such a deep reservoir of information to pull from for like those people that actually like Star Trek, and I think they're doing a great job. I worry that someone like you, Kris, that has an affinity for it, might like look at it differently than I do, because I don't get I don't want to say offended, but I can't think of any other terminology for it. Them making fun of certain things of Star Trek, it's not bothering me at all.
I don't think that's going to bother me in the least. I don't take Star Trek that seriously.
Okay. And that was my worry. Like, I don't know.
I mean, I loved that episode we watched for the show.
Okay, good.
So
Good,
I am
'cause
more than happy to watch more of it as soon as we're done with Parks and Rec.
Yeah,
Have you told your dad about that show?
I have.
Okay.
I wonder if he'll actually like it.
It's great. The dynamics between all of the there's so many different characters, but you truly feel that they all belong on this ship, and that it's just a neat little cartoon, man. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. I never ever thought I would enjoy a Star Trek show the way I'm enjoying this one. So yeah, I've been watching that, and then together at night, I'll call together, I'm air quoting that, we fall asleep to Ghost Hunters. That is literally all we have been watching in this house.
Yep. It's crazy. I always have to have something morbid. I just thought about this, because if I'm not listening to, and that's why we drink, I'm watching Walking Dead. Like, that's, I just like weird shit.
Oh, I'm also in the process of trying to take Moon Knight and turn it into a feature film. So we got to do a little.
How's that going? I was going to ask you about that.
It's going. I'm almost done. The first couple of episodes were fine. Like literally just cut off credits, cut off intro, go, because they seamlessly work together. But once you hit like episode 3 or 4-ish, they sort of like blend music in there. So like I don't want to lose that stuff, because a lot of that was tonal. So I got to figure out a way to make that work, and I made it through 2 bits. I kind of figure out there's a rewind point that I want to do. Yeah, I got some things. It's gonna end up being about like a 4.5-5 hour movie.
Moon Knight, the Evan cut.
That's what I'm gonna call it. And it's gonna be just the right length. So, but yeah, that's what we've been doing. That and events and comic books and art and
Yeah, we've been doing a ton of events, guys, and we have a ton more coming. So, buckle up.
Yeah, good times. So who was running this episode while I was not here?
I was, and quite poorly. So guess what? It's your turn.
Okay. Well, I guess that's it. Let's take a break, because when we come back, we are going to talk about an in-depth discussion about the full season of Moon Knight.
I'm just waiting for this to be like
I'm trying
a
to figure out if
conversation.
I don't know how I want to lead this, because like I can vomit all of the information, or I can bounce back and forth with questions and things, and I'll figure it out. So
a Q&A with Evan.
Almost like a Q&A.
Q&A about Moon Knight. Yes, those vibes.
All right, everybody.
Is this going to be a quiz? Because I didn't study.
No quiz.
I forgot to do the commercials. I can actually fix this real quick.
Oh, it is what it is. I mean, like I avoided watching. I thought about watching a bunch of the Nerdist recaps.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. I don't want to know the things that they are overt and shoving. Look at everything you missed. The 97 Easter egg. I don't. Okay. If I have to look at something to tell me the things that I missed, I don't think I should have seen it in the first place.
So I am differing in that opinion, and I was just looking at him pretty intensely. I'm gonna look at you again now.
It's the first one's up. I
know. I saw that you had that on your computer, and I had looked at that earlier today, and I thought about it, and I was like, I was gonna do that. I was gonna do a deep dive into YouTube, just watching stuff about the Moon Knight show, because I know so much less compared to you,
and that was
I didn't do it because I'm gonna trust you to be the expert in the room.
I want to see what you think about it without having that background in it. So, all right, that it is. You're gonna take a quick break, and when we get back, we're gonna talk Moon Knight. Stay tuned.
And now, here's a quick look at some of the other original content available now from our partners and Geekade.com.
First up, Katamari Damacy is one of the best games ever made. I know because I played it. And its soundtrack is a big part of that assertion. Why? Because, like me, it's over the top, bizarre, and incredibly lovable. Well, thanks, Kris. Kris and Matt decided there was no better way to finish off their review series than with a trip back down memory lane to give the Katamari soundtrack its proper due. Originally covered back in June 2015 by Kris solo, now he's got a partner to re-experience all the rolling goodness with. If you like good music and witty banter, don't miss Wave Back episode 149, Katamari Damacy Reroll. Oh yeah. Get all the cows.
Next, our friends on the SNES podcast were kind enough to invite Kris to join them for a special episode all about one of the very best games ever made, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. What's more, he wasn't the only special guest. Greg, Joe, and Kris were also joined by Ferg from the Atari 2600 Game by Game podcast and Phil, the no swear... Does he stick to that no swear gamer? To discuss
He does.
Nice. We love you, Ferg. Also, fuck you, Phil. No, I'm just kidding.
Phil, the no swear gamer, to discuss one of the most important and time-tested video games ever created. How did they all feel about the adventure? Find out in the SNES podcast, episode 188, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past.
It was super cool getting to meet Phil, like, even just online, because I'm a fan of his work.
Nice.
He's a super cool dude.
Did you swear around him?
I kept it clean.
What about everybody else?
Wow.
Well, you know Ferg, he's a real potty mouth.
He is.
We're a fan of you, Phil. We're a fan.
Finally, Transformers Deadly Paradise is a storybook for children, or at least that's what I'm told. So what is happening? The art certainly doesn't help make anything more understandable, and in fact, it only raises more questions. There are constant references to pig robots, but none are to be found. A human that might be an enemy is only a Decepticon contractor with no ill will toward the Autobots. Humans put an Autobot to death without trial, and worst of all, Optimus accepts their judgment and shuts him down. And you will not believe your eyes and ears when a Decepticon is murdered! What dangers and beautiful birds await us on the deadly island the Autobots find themselves on? Find out in Sparkcast episode 58, Deadly Paradise Storybook. What the fuck?
Genuinely.
Oh, that's me.
Cricket.
Line. For all of us and more from our partners, be sure to keep your eyes on geekade.com.
And we're back. Thank you so much for enjoying our commercial break. Let's talk some Moon Knight. Okay, so I guess the most common question I've been asked in the past 6 weeks is, hey, how do you feel about the Moon Knight show?
Oh my god, literally, people were like stopping him on the street.
Hey, you're a Moon Knight fan. What do you think of the show?
Aren't you that Evan guy?
And, like, flat out, I've said it here before, I enjoyed it. There are things that I would have done differently, but I enjoyed it. As a Moon Knight fan, especially the comic book version, because there have been, I think, at least one animated version. I have gotten very used to the visage of Moon Knight changing constantly. The story arcs, the power sets, everything about Moon Knight just constantly is in flux. So going into this show, I knew I just had to be prepared for a show that was not totally geared for me, but geared for the common person who does not know this character, because Moon Knight is not a known character. I'm willing to bet out of everybody so far that's been in the MCU, Moon Knight would be probably the lowest or the least known. Because
I mean, did you see Eternals?
There's that.
So the Eternals as a group is a Kirby thing, so they are known. in the
No,
comic
I mean
book.
the post-credit scene. That dude in the post-credit scene is probably the least known character that they've introduced to the MCU so far.
In the okay, the
Thanos' brother or whatever.
Yeah. Well, there was Pip the troll, and that dude that looks like a fox. His name has something to do with fox. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know. But that was like, whoa. All right.
All right. So
You doing this.
how about this? The most least known character that they actually developed a movie around or
Least
a
known
television
main character.
show.
There you go.
Okay.
Fair.
What?
I said fair.
Oh, I thought you said hair.
100%. Least known main character. Yeah, I mean,
And it's a shame
Yeah.
because he's been around for a very long time. He's got some really great story arcs. But this show didn't do any of that, which was kind of weird for me. I thought maybe like even an intro, like the origin story of Moon Knight is great. They sort of touched on it a little bit for a portion of the episode. But all in all, as a true Moon Knight fan, I enjoyed it. The thing, I would have tied it more to the MCU. I saw it in an article that I'm blanking on the director's name, but he straight up said, "Oh no, we don't need to do that."
The director from the show?
Yes. Yeah,
Jeremy Slater? He was the creator.
No. He's an Egyptian fella. Hold on.
Have executive producers, and no directors.
Mohammed Dab. He was the director for 4 episodes.
Oh,
And
okay.
they talked about a couple of tie-ins. Now, the first one was unfortunately a tie-in with the Eternals, which makes the most sense because they could have done a whole Egyptian god thing and they were around with the Egyptian god. Who knows? But, okay, I could see that. I don't know what the other one was, but they straight out cut it from the show. And there's literally one noticeable tie to the MCU that I saw, and then it was reiterated to me via one of those articles. Hey, did you see this kind of thing? And that was in the first, one of the episodes, there was a fight and he runs into a bus, and on the side of the bus there was an advertisement for that program the government was doing to help the blip
relocation.
people, the Relocation Act. Like, that was literally, they didn't say the event, they didn't say the blip, they didn't say any of that stuff. They didn't talk about they talked more about other Disney properties and even outside of Disney properties than they did about within the MCU, which I thought was an interesting and poor choice to make, especially with all of the Netflix characters being available to them now, and Moon Knight rolls right in with them deep in the comics. So that's a thing that I would have done differently. Outside of that, the things I would have done differently are comic book related. Like, I would have liked to have seen the original costume, like the normal costume. I understand why they gave Mark, Steven, and then Jake.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not going to say it because I know you'll get
Jake,
it, but I also feel weird
different
waiting.
accents.
Yeah.
Because it's hard in live action to go, well, that guy's different now because he's wearing different clothes. Like, they had to do something additional to make it like it was a different personality. I get that. It was just weird that all of a sudden Jake was Hispanic. Okay, that doesn't track for me, but all right.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever met a Latino person who's had the last name Lockley.
Yeah.
Unless perhaps they were a woman who, married. It's their married name, but whatever. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
But, that was the thing. That was I almost force feed that, hey, this is another personality. Boom. I get it. I understand it. So, now, as like this crew that we have here varies greatly with the amount of knowledge that you guys have. I'm curious. I know we all enjoyed it, from my understanding. What did you feel about the nuance, those nuances to the show, the multiple personality accent changes, the costumes that morphed? Like, that is not normal superhero stuff, because like we never see Batman get dressed, pretty much, maybe his cowl, but all of a sudden he's Batman. He's changed.
Clearly you had never watched Batman and Robin.
I mean, literally pulling on a pant leg kind of thing. Like, yes, there's the turnaround, the swoosh, if you will, with the butt cheek. I remember that one.
This is the pants going over my butt cheeks.
But they made it a big deal to show that the costume was mystical and like intricately tied to the personalities, and that is not a comic book thing at all. No. That's fine.
It's not a Moon Knight comic book thing. It's definitely a comic book thing.
Oh, it's definitely a comic book thing. It's not a Moon Knight comic book thing.
Just wanted to clarify that.
Right.
I thought that was super cool. I like that quite a bit.
I mean, when later on when they showed the seamless back and forth, like, I thought that was neat. That was a neat trick. I was like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I loved that it allowed them to do that when they were fighting at the end and like changing back and forth. Yeah. Between the different suits, like magically as they changed personalities. Like, I thought that was really freaking cool. I liked that a lot. I can't think of much I didn't like about this. I actually really liked that it wasn't more intricately tied into the MCU yet, because of I like that this stands on its own. That they didn't try and... They had enough faith in this to not like really tie it in, like, oh, but look, this dude's gonna show up, or like, oh, hey, look, this dude shows up.
So is that
no? It's
faith?
Really part of it. What's that?
Is that faith or the worry that it won't hold up and that it's not tied to associated with the MCU? That literally could go in either direction.
Wait, like, you think they're just going to do this as like a one-off and then like it never
so this
shows
was
up
only
again?
This was only slated to be a miniseries. It was actually submitted to an awards thing as a miniseries, which means it cannot continue from this point.
Yeah,
now
it is a limited series. Yeah,
a limited series. They removed it from consideration for that, so that opens it up. So there's all rumors about getting a possible second season, but that has not been confirmed. It's all but been denied by a number of people, but, you know, Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, we can't trust
Jon
any of
Snow
those
said he
people.
wasn't coming back too, so...
Tobey Maguire wasn't going to be in Spider-Man kind of thing, so... like,
I feel pretty confident that Moon Knight is going to be used in the future of the MCU.
I feel like I read somewhere that somebody had said that, but I guess maybe I'm crazy.
But the reason I view it as confidence and not the opposite is Eternals. Like, when they were marketing Eternals, they were like, no, this is part of the MCU. This is the next thing in the MCU. No, really, this is part of that. Moon Knight's just like, check out Moon Knight. Just watch it. Just watch it. It's that good. That was their whole marketing campaign for this. Like, you look at it. You look at it. You see it with your eyes. This looks awesome, right? Well, it is. Watch it. And that's all they needed to do. And I think that was that's why it comes off to me as confidence. Like, we're going to introduce this character, and we're going to do it justice, and people are going to like it. And then when he shows up in future things,
people are going to be like, "Oh my god, holy shit, it's Moon Knight! I love him."
Yeah, it's going to be cool and a fun surprise. Like,
and that's fantastic, because I was worried that I thought of it firstly the other way. I was like, man, they're trying to separate this from, like, they're doing like Venom, like they don't want Venom to be part of the MCU kind of thing. And I'm like, Moon Knight is a strong enough character to be part of the MCU. Oscar Isaac is just a strong enough actor. Like, that man fucking knocked this out of the park. I mean, the best line that I saw
was awesome.
The best line was the chemistry between Mark and Steven was the best chemistry I've seen on television.
Yeah, the scenes he acted with himself were so impressive.
Yeah.
Like more than like Paul Bettany versus Paul Bettany in WandaVision.
Yeah.
Like more than I don't know that I've ever seen another actor act both sides of a scene that well.
Tatiana
I mean,
Maslany.
Tatiana
Okay.
Maslany was
Yeah.
the only other thing that
Fair.
came to mind.
I will die on that hill.
But the fact of the matter is, 2. That's it. That, like,
Yeah, and this I think this was as good. Like this was at that level.
mm-hmm.
This was way better than the dude clone in Orphan Black.
Well, and they did minimal. So like when he was not in costume, all of his changes from personality to personality were in the mannerisms, were in stature, where he did a Clark Kent to Superman kind of change, where Tatiana, like literally physically, like her hair changed, her skin tone changed.
They were
like,
different physical beings,
Right.
whereas no, this is multiple personalities in the same body, and it was extraordinarily impressive. And I didn't get what Jake Lockley's accent was.
he
I
spoke
just
Spanish.
didn't get it. It didn't sound like Earthling to me, so I just
Oh, he
was
spoke
like,
Spanish at the end.
oh, he was speaking Spanish. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he is Hispanic. That just means that in that scene he was speaking Spanish. We don't know why.
Okay. All right.
I mean, yeah, it stands
it's
to
fair.
reason.
There
But we're
was
talking about
Arabic.
Moon Knight. There was a giant hippo lady. Like,
Yeah.
what does any of this mean? I don't know. It's great though.
During the last episode, I had watched it, and then Angela came in, and she was like, I knew the points of that final episode that she would love, and I called it the Godzilla fight. And she went, "Oh my God, am I gonna get a kaiju fight?" And I'm like, "Yes, you are."
Yeah, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
I really liked Scarlet Scarab too. I thought I thought that was really well earned. That was cool.
Yeah.
And like I wouldn't have known that was a thing unless we hadn't watched those Nerdist ones that
Right.
kept showing off all the hints at Scarlet Scarab, because I'm completely unfamiliar with that character.
Yes, it's.
I thought the redesign of the redesign of the outfit for her was
Perfect.
super awesome, and
Spot
that
on.
fight scene was great because we got it didn't just shine on her. It was like, oh, now we also get to see Moon Knight being completely badass, and we got to see. It was a really good fight scene, and it was so earned because it wasn't like, I think, to the end of the Batman, where the Batman was this interesting movie for like half of it, and then it turned into generic superhero movie. And this could have fallen into that hole where like WandaVision was a similar situation. It was incredibly weird and interesting and different, and by the end of it I still very much enjoyed it, but it was very much, superhero fight at the end.
Right.
And this, I felt, earned that superhero fight ending a little bit better, and it didn't take it too far. It didn't go too long. It was just enough to be a really sweet reward for watching the rest of the series and being like, all right, but I really want to see him kick some ass. And then you got to see it, and it was just enough to be a reward for your patience. And I thought it was handled brilliantly. I thought the fight scene was great. I loved Scarlet Scarab's look, and the way that she moved and everything was great. And I thought the Moon Knight bit where he and Steven and Mark were finally working together, that bit where they were just switching back and forth between the costumes, I thought was just wonderful. So that whole bit was great.
The Layla character is an amalgamation of a number of different characters from the Moon Knight comic, and they did a phenomenal job on the main good guys. I was a little disappointed in Ethan Hawke's performance. For me, he wasn't very menacing. Like, he was supposed to be a super powerful bad guy because of that cane, like that thing that he had, his Excalibur, if you will. And I just concentrated more on the fact that he had glass in his shoes. That was weird. Like, why? Like, I
feel like the whole thing with him was he wasn't supposed to come off as super powerful. He was supposed to come off as nice.
But then at
And,
the end,
like,
when they made him super powerful and he was
yeah.
mashing that cake, like I was like, I'm not buying it.
Yeah, I guess I'm with you there.
Like-
I didn't really think about it.
And that was the thing. Like Arthur Harrow, I will repeat, one episode,
One issue.
one issue, and he was a Nazi scientist, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know where the hell this guy came from. But
That's what I
okay.
love is when they pull out these like really random ass villains and they're like, yeah, this is totally relevant now.
But it was out of nowhere, but it worked. It made a connection to the Egyptian lore and okay, this is where we're gonna go with this. Now, if there's an episode or season 2, maybe we'll get like a more known villain or someone more menacing, like the guy that actually they referenced him in the wow, Bonesaw is stuck in my head, man. I'm not having a good night with my brain.
Bonesaw is ready.
That was the thing, like
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
the backstory when they actually I guess it was in episode 4 or 5 where they actually showed his death and how he was sort of taken advantage of by Khonshu and made to feel like that was the only choice he had. Like they actually referenced Bushman, like that was his partner, his mercenary partner. That's Bushman. And in the comics, there is a scene where fucking Moon Knight cuts Bushman's face off.
Awesome.
Like removes face off. And
You want to take his face off? Yeah, I want to take his face off. You guys ever seen that movie? It's fucking hysterical.
I haven't seen it in a long time, but yes, I do remember it being fucking hysterical.
That, like, they teased that, and I was like, okay, let's, you're not going to show me that, are you? No, you're not. Okay. Bunch of dead people. All right.
I mean, it's still on Disney Plus, so.
Yeah, but there was some rough. I mean, no. Okay. The cutting of the face off. Yes, I understand that it not being a Disney Plus thing, but like, show me show me the partner. You didn't show me the partner. You showed what the partner did, and who.
That sounds like a casting issue.
Anywho, there's Sun King. Everybody thought that's who this was going to be. That's who Ethan Hawke was going to play. Nope. Did not happen. Like, and he's also come up to a bunch of what I call Daredevil villains, like Bullseye and whatnot. But,
Dracula.
Where's my money?
Dracula, you big fucking nerd. Where's my money?
I don't know where that meme came from. Random bullshit. Anywho,
Random bullshit. Go. Oh, I love that one too. That's great.
So, in all in all, there's still a lot left to cover with Moon Knight, and I still feel like they did a good job covering Moon Knight. Like I'm very surprised. Like, we hit episode 5, we finished episode 5 and went, this is only 6 episodes? How the fuck are they gonna pull this off?
I was gonna say that's one thing I was really impressed with is the fact that like I got a satisfactory ending, including a fucking kaiju fight, and I did not know how. Like, going into episode 6, I was not confident. I really wasn't. And Evan was very good at having a poker face when I was like, "All right, babe, you sure you want to watch this again with me? Like, are you okay? Like, is it a huge disappointment?" And he was like, "Just watch and see." And I was like, "Oh,
I knew
boy."
there was a kaiju fight, and then that just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It could have gone just to black at the end of that, and you would have been fine.
Yeah, that's fair. And between that and her costume, I was like, yes.
I was just, like, I get, like, the costume was great, but when I see her curled up using the wing as a shield,
Like Falcon.
makes it, my brain goes, shoot her in the fucking leg.
Yeah,
Like,
I did that. I mean,
but
yes.
They don't do that because apparently Disney Plus.
Superheroes.
You also said to go for your legs.
Sweep the leg.
So the backstory about father and mother, that tracks. That is, they went a little bit deeper than I'm used to with the backstory for that. I'm very surprised when they pushed the fact that he is Jewish a lot in this, more so than I actually remember it in the comics. And keep in mind, they only did it for like one episode. When everybody was talking about the casting of Moon Knight, they're like, "Oh, he's got to be Jewish." No, it doesn't. Like they barely.
Your
talked
last
about
name is Goldstein. You must be Jewish.
But the fact that's true. But the fact is like we found out in retrospect that his father was a rabbi, and that was like in another one episode kind of or one issue kind of thing. It's not pivotal to the character.
No, but I did like that as a detail of his identity. Like I don't think it was an absolutely necessary detail, but I think it made him feel like a more well-rounded, fleshed-out character.
I'm talking about the fact that when they were talking about casting, that the general public was like, "Oh no, it has to be cast true to form." I don't know if Oscar Isaacs is Jewish. It doesn't really matter to me.
Oh, I see.
He portrayed the character beautifully. The father did a good job, like that family dynamic stuff there. That was only for like all of that was done really well in an episode. Like the hardest hitting parts of the show was one episode's worth of information, if not part of an episode. And the stuff that they drew out, where the interconnecting of the personalities and what's real, what's not, what's going on, like that stuff didn't feel drawn out. Where like the Scarlet Witch or WandaVision, at points in time I went, this is going like they're drawing this out a little too long. Like, where are we going with this? And I never felt that way with this show. Maybe it is because I'm a bigger fan of this character, but I don't think it dragged at all at any point in time. What did you guys? I
mean, if anything, I had fears it was going to be too short. And in a way it was, because I just want more.
I felt like the pacing was good. There were points where, and those points include now, where I'm like, not entirely sure what's going on here. I think I get it. And I don't like, if the fact that I don't quite get it isn't stopping me from enjoying it. But, so I guess if anything in terms of pacing, it might have been a little rushed, just because there were moments when I was like, is this real? I don't know.
I love that feeling every once in a while. Like as we were watching it, and I actually watched most of the episodes twice, and I still don't know what's going on. Like, is this all in his head? Like that whole
the mental hospital.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know if that's real.
I think that was all in his head. But then at the end, Harrow was in the hospital.
Mm-hmm. That was some Joss Whedon level shit right there.
Right there.
That's just fucking weird. Okay.
Did you see the one Easter egg that I caught by myself without any help from anybody else was in the final episode? Did you see it, Kris? You may.
I mean, we watched the Nerdist videos immediately after, so we did probably see it.
So the Sienkiewicz psychiatric ward, I saw that. That made my heart sing, because he was a pivotal artist for Moon Knight. Like, he gave the look and the feel of Moon Knight what it is today, and I'm so glad that they actually incorporated that into the show in such a phenomenal way. Mm-hmm. The bits and pieces of each of the episodes for me referenced volumes of Moon Knight. So like the psychiatric ward was a volume of Moon Knight. That car scene and the after credits scene, that visage of Khonshu, like that was straight off of a cover. Like that was, and I was like, wow, they pulled that off, because that's a tough feat to make look like fantastic, and they made it look fantastic. All in all, I think they did a good job of giving the comic fans what they needed as opposed to what they wanted. And then I haven't, the amount of fan pages that I'm a part of for Moon Knight, it's overwhelmingly positive, which is shocking to me. Like, and then when the one person says something negative, everybody else is like, shut up. Like, look it for what it is. You are a Moon Knight. If you are a Moon Knight fan, you know that none of the things that we have seen before make any sense later on, or it is that being a Moon Knight fan. For me, I knew it was probably going to be my favorite Marvel television show, but I guess that might
imagine why.
Make me slightly biased. The unsung hero for me was F. Murray Abraham.
Oh God,
the voice of
He
Khonshu.
was pretty good.
Khonshu was so great.
I love that guy's voice. I really do. I think he did a great job. Everybody did a good job with the parts that they had to play. So what I want to see is what from this point forward, I don't need Moon Knight to be in the overall Marvel Cinematic Universe. I don't need that. I don't want that. I want Marvel to take hold of that Netflix run and give me like the street level New York badass that Moon Knight is. Like, put it with Daredevil, put it with like Luke Cage. I almost said Iron Fist, but I stopped myself.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Like, give me that, and I don't care what the story is. I will be over the moon. Like him being in Egypt really didn't make sense to me. I mean, after the fact, like, I guess him having to tie it, like, okay, but for me, Moon Knight was in New York and LA. Those are the two places, because he was a street level vigilante. I don't know where they're going to go with this, because now he's got mystical superpowers, he's got regenerative capabilities. Like, this is not the normal, like, Moon Knight was just a dude for a very long time. Now he's a super dude, and I'm really curious to see where they're going to go, if they're going to go anywhere with it. So, you guys got anything else that you want to bring to the table? Any questions?
No, I don't think I have any questions.
Okay.
I think I was curious when you were talking about like his costume and everything.
So the costumes had nothing to do with the personalities in the comics.
I know that. Okay, so that was the first thing I was going to ask, was they didn't have anything to do with the personalities, right? So what was the deal? The Mr. Moon Knight version, what was that originally in the comics?
He was okay. So what ended up happening is, at one point in time, Moon Knight was kicked out of the Avengers, and he was certified insane. And then the comic went away, and when it came back, he was Mr. Knight. He was being more civil, or like more upfront about his vigilantism. And he just changed his look. It was an artistic choice. That's what the comic book went with. That's it. He just changed his costume.
Okay.
I think I may have tied it into one of our feeds. The main Moon Knight garb, that the robes. I don't know, like the you know what I'm talking about? The ribbons, the
bandages?
Bandages, if you will. And
the wraps, because technically it'd be wraps from...
That showed up in like an Elseworld version,
right,
that they homaged in to this. I read somewhere that due to the fact they used the costumes to separate the personalities, the thought that is, if Jake was to have gotten a costume, it would have been more in line with the actual like Marvel Comics costume. There was a version that was more black than white. Is a more current version, but they were trying to give him a much darker personality. And you could see that, like, Jake actually showed up in like during the communication where he was in the asylum, and he threatens Arthur who was Dr. Arthur Harrow with the glass pyramid that was on his desk. When his face actually changes and he's got a broken nose. That was Jake. Okay? And that came out later. I've read that somewhere. And he was manic. Like that personality was so violent that they wanted to make sure that the costume represented that it was completely different. So that was, and there's half a dozen, if not more, different variations of the Moon Knight costume. I did like the fact that they kept the crescent cape.
Oh, that was cool.
It was interesting to see Moon Knight fly. I'm not used to that. He's more of a glider than anything, but yeah.
He falls with style.
Yeah. And there's a full cast of characters that they haven't touched on at all. Frenchie, who's like his, I don't want to call him a sidekick, but he was like his partner.
Alfred?
Yeah, sort of. But Alfred was more of a fatherly figure for Batman. Frenchie is not that. Frenchie was a compatriot, a comrade, if you will, from the military days, and they just worked together. He flew the crescent copter and whatnot. So
You just said crescent copter.
That's what it was called. Everything about Moon Knight was mooned. So
lunar, if you will.
Yeah. I think they did it. I think they did right by the character, which I'm very happy with. I was kind of worried because this could have gone anywhere because he's such an unknown character. They could have done anything with it, and they took care of it, and I appreciate that as a fan. So
I'm glad that you got what you wanted.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
It would have been a big bummer if you were unhappy with the show.
Yeah, that would have been sad. It'd be like, it would be like the first time, it would be like me being disappointed in the first live action Ninja Turtles movie. Like,
right. Yes.
But that would never happen because that's your favorite piece of all cinema.
Exactly. It's the most perfect movie ever made. But subsequent things hurt less because that movie exists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Guys, I can't even talk about it.
So I'm waiting. I just want to hear that they're going to do more with him because they really, really can. So many opportunities, so many different directions that it can go in.
He's just a really fun and interesting character, honestly. And it's hard for me to imagine that they would get Oscar Isaac to work on this role and then just do nothing with him.
And not for nothing.
That's not
like,
what you do with Oscar Isaac.
They did a very good job of making this character fun because that's not what when someone asks me to describe Moon Knight, I do not say fun. I literally
it's a real jolly good time.
Right, like to make people understand because most people know who Batman is, and I hate the reference because he is not Marvel's Batman. It not. Okay, I say he's Batman-esque, but had no problem killing people.
Gets the job done.
Like that's what Moon Knight was. He was a human that had money, gadgets, and no qualms with killing people. This is not that.
How do you feel about the amount of Moon Knight stuff that exists now that's coming out? People becoming fans of it based off of the show versus you being an OG fan?
So as some people know
superior?
that I have spent a lot of money and a lot of my time and life collecting everything of Moon Knight.
Which truthfully was not a lot by comparison.
It was doable because it's not Spider-Man, it's not Batman. I was up to 98% of every comic book appearance of Moon Knight, and that includes single panels and covers and whatnot. Stuff-wise, I was real close, if not, I think, missing one piece because it was a repainted statue that was stupid expensive, and I'm like, I have the silver version. Why do I need the white and blue one? Well, I will get it if I can find it cheap enough. I'm going to throw a line in the sand, if you will, that if it's the television show stuff, I don't need to have it. If I like it, I'll get it. Like, I just put in those I don't even know what you would call them. They were statues.
3D models.
3D resin statues of the encasement for Khonshu and Amit. Like, I think those are neat, and I would love to have those on the shelf. I don't need the pop of Moon Knight television version. I'll probably get it, but if it comes around, like if I can find it, I'm not going to hunt it down. There's a lot. I'm not doing t-shirts. Like, when something hits television, it's I don't want to say it's done, but like that sounds negative. Like, they're just going to start making things for the sake of making things. If I like the t-shirt and it's interesting, I'll buy it, but I won't just buy it because it has Moon Knight on it, which is what I used to do.
It doesn't have to be in your collection.
No, it does not. I mean, I saw the figures and I thought they were badass. So that's why I ordered them.
Yeah.
But that's it. Only if I like it. And I'm glad that he's getting the attention that I've always thought he deserved. I just hope that this fuels, which unfortunately more times than not, the television and the movies do not fuel the comics, which is a shame, but I hope that it does do something. That I hope it's such an unknown character that it may give it another little jolt in the comic book world, because it has a current running series right now, and the current running series is actually really good. It is not this show. It's nowhere near this show. It is like the easiest way for me to explain the new Moon Knight comic is the Blade series, like the Blade,
yeah.
But instead of it being Blade, it's Moon Knight.
And I wonder about that because he was originally supposed to be introduced in a Blade television show when they first talked about it, like over a decade ago now, I think.
Because, well, originally Moon Knight, his first battle was with a werewolf.
Right.
And his first battle was
Werewolf by Night.
Oh my God, we know things.
You know what the worst part about that is? Werewolf by Night, his real name is Jack Russell.
Yep.
Genius. And his original costume was silver because he was fighting a werewolf and it protected him. Nothing to do with white. That guy, they want to see me come. None of that bullshit. He was protecting himself. He wore silver.
Hey, you stop it. I like that quote.
But like that's the realm that he played in more. He played in the dark, violent, Stephen Grant. I mean, it's a cute interpretation. He's meek. And he gets
very
a little
different.
backbone.
Yeah, I was surprised at how you responded to the interpretations of the different personalities, because it seemed like that was the kind of departure from the comics that, like, as a fan of, you guys have seen how I am. There's certain things that I'm like, yeah, it's okay. And then there's others where I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
there was a whole 13-issue arc of Mark Spector being in an insane asylum.
mm-hmm.
So we didn't know there was very little Moon Knight. I mean, Moon Knight showed up when he put a pillowcase on his head, drew a crescent moon on it.
Yeah.
Like, that was a complete departure from what Moon Knight was normally.
Yeah.
So every time, I just looked at this as like, oh, this is the next volume of Moon Knight. There it is. Okay.
Then it's great that he's had that kind of adaptability and flexibility in his writing and storytelling and stuff like that, because other properties, you wouldn't be so, like, it's not so easy to just accept it, a variation like that on
I'm willing to bet, like, this is one of the only characters that has that adaptability. Like, there's no baseline for Moon Knight except Khonshu now. And that wasn't even at the beginning, but now it's Khonshu.
I love Khonshu so much. I'm sorry, he was such a great part of the show for me. The gods, the way they did the gods in this show, I loved it.
Yeah, like, and the vessels that they used, and like they thought about it a lot, and they put a lot of love into it, which is what it deserves. But that's, I mean, when it comes to Spider-Man, there's only so far you can go. There's only so much that character can flex before it breaks, and then you're like, no, that's not Spider-Man anymore.
Yeah.
Batman, Superman, like all the big ones, like that's the same. And then there's certain characters that they have worked with, like the Winter Soldier, like Falcon, like they are unknowns-ish. They're not as known as others, but they didn't flex those characters. They didn't bend them to the point at all. Those characters that we saw on the screen or, on the television were very close to the comic book versions. Maybe the departure would be Scarlet Witch, but that was a thematic choice, I guess. They wanted to build this world around the fact that she is this powerful of a human being, which that makes sense for the character because she is that. She literally, with a whisper, made all of mutants go away. Mm-hmm. That's how powerful that character is. So,
Multiverse of Madness was a good time.
Yeah.
Hey, there was I know it's a news story, but it reminded me of something you're saying. There was Feige recently commented on the whole thing with Miss Marvel's powers being different.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something to the effect of like, her powers being what they were designed because of things that were going on in the world of comics at the time. The way her powers are in this show are going to be designed around things that are happening in the MCU at this time.
Gotcha.
Okay.
This is very interesting.
They don't like stretchy. He
Also,
has
I
a
don't
problem with stretchy powers.
Yeah, well, that's like a whole other thing. I don't know if we want to be getting into that now.
We'll
but
talk about it because there's a news article or two that will pop up next recording because that's coming soon. That's coming down the pipe.
And if you guys have been hearing grumblings in the background, our cat has been throwing in his 2 cents about how much he loves Moon Knight too.
The answer is meow.
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 It's more like meow because it's a very smoker's meow.
Well,
He's
folks,
packing half a day. We're good?
I'm exhausted.
All
It's
right.
time for me to go to bed.
Absolutely. I'm glad we all got together, finally got to talk about it. So, to answer everybody's question, I enjoyed it. It was good. Watch it. Enjoy it.
Yay, Moon Knight's awesome. Everyone should watch it. And Our
And
Flag Means Death. Watch it at the same
listeners,
time.
post your thoughts about Moon Knight in Discord. If you have questions for Evan, get him into the Discord server. So
I
make
will
him
look.
Make him engage.
I do every once in a while. I do. Right.
All
right. So, that's it. Kris, give us the spiel,
The
please.
spiel.
This week's episode is not filmed before a live studio audience, but it is fueled by feedback from listeners like you. And you can get in touch with us in a multitude of ways. We have an official Geekade Discord where there's an entire This Week's Episode channel dedicated to all things TV talk. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram through the official Geekade channels or more specific Twepcast accounts. And of course, the 4 of us can be found in various ways. I'm available on Twitter at Geekade Kris, that's Geekade Kris, and you can read my work at StoneAgeGamer.com or in the pages of Nintendo Force magazine. Karen, what about you?
I can be found at STM Stitches on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Etsy, and TikTok.
Angie, where can people find you?
AngelaFernot.com.
And Evan, where can people find you?
Check out Tales of Cape Fear on both Instagram and Facebook.
If you need to know more about the shows we discussed tonight or what we'll be watching in the future, have a look at our show notes. And if you have any other questions at all, we can always be reached at mail@geekade.com. Just include the words "this week's episode" in the subject line so we know who you're trying to reach. This show is available anywhere fine podcasts are sold, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and more. And wherever you decide to listen, please like, comment, subscribe, and leave reviews because any and all feedback is welcome and appreciated. Again, as always, keep your eyes on Geekade for more fresh original content. Back to you, Evan.
All right. Once again, I apologize for being late. Work was wonky. I thank you guys for holding it down until I got here. As per my notes, Karen, you have
That's
the next
me.
pick after next week's news. So what do we got? What's the homework?
It's a show that's been on my radar for a couple months. I've heard really great things. I have not seen it at all. And I'm not really sure whether I'm going to like it because the genre is not my typical. But I would like for us to check out the first episode of Yellow Jackets from Showtime.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yellow Jackets. Season 1 episode. Season 1, I'm assuming, right?
Yes, sir. Season 1, Episode 1.
All right. There you go. There's your homework, everyone. Yellow Jackets, Season 1, Episode 1. Like I said, in 2 weeks we got news, and next month that's your homework. So from all of us here at this week's episode, I'm Evan.
I'm Angie.
Later, skaters.
Oh, good. The idiot's in charge.
Good night.
And this concludes our broadcast day.